Hi Cancer, and welcome to your February 2021 reading. Yours is an interesting one. Probably the most interesting of all the signs. And you might be wondering why. Well, there is a metaphorical shedding of the skin. There's a lot of change. You have a stellium in the 8th house, and that is, especially for Cancer risings, that's a huge change. That is a huge process of letting go of what hasn't served you up until this point. For some of you, it can be deeply transformative gifts being thrown your way. And sometimes they don't seem like gifts at the time, and sometimes they do. But there is a huge transformation that you will feel on a cellular level. You might not see it. You might see it. You might not experience it outwardly. You could be experiencing it inwardly, but it's there. There's a very deep transformation going on, but that's not something to be feared. So the 8th house is probably the most intimate side of a birth chart. It shows where we merge with another, financially, intimately, emotionally. It shows where we connect on a true primal level, that true authentic connection that comes with that energy, where we truly know another, we truly experience another. And also, it can be a lot to do with finding out where we stand, because the 8th house rules wills, inheritance. And sometimes that can be surprising. Sometimes it can also be very enlightening. But it's not just a house that is to do with other people's money. It can be to do with your partner's money. It can be to do with your partner's resources. But it's also a place where doors open for some kind of collective wisdom. The 8th house is a common house to have a stellium for those that are interested in the occult, those that are interested in tarot, astrology, the other side. I myself have an 8th house stellium in my chart, and every sign in it is Scorpio. So I have a little bit of experience here of what you can expect, in a way. I've also experienced Saturn transiting the 8th house, and I have to say that can be really very important in your life. Now, when Saturn transforms itself in your 8th house, you can learn many things. Because it's clashing a lot this year with your 11th house, you can expect, believe it or not, some overdue successes through that clash. You can experience wish fulfillment through your toughest lessons. You know, some people find with the 8th house that there's a lot of power there and a lot of recognition. Because we've had Uranus and Taurus, which is your 11th house of wish fulfillment, of connections, and it's clashing with your 8th house of your intimacy or your dark side, I suppose. It's actually giving you a lot of ambition. And it's actually giving you a lot of drive to go after what it is that you want. And that suits you. That suits you. It's going to give you a fearlessness. Especially if you find yourself in a crisis. Because the 8th house is an energy that when something trivial is happening, a small issue, sometimes they can be quite over dramatic with the 8th house. But when things are really changing, when there's a huge shift in your life, some luck actually comes through, which is interesting. So there's a bit of fortune here, there's a lot of success, there's a lot of power, there's a lot of recognition, but there's also a death of the ego that is unavoidable. The Lovers is underneath, and that can be in love, especially if you've had until this point a real taste for the toxic, the fun but unhealthy. Ace of Wands, Page of Cups, Knight of Swords, Three of Cups, and the Five of Wands, clarified by the Ten of Pentacles. One more. The Strength card. Okay. Underneath is the Lovers. Trickiness this month that you may find as a Cancer rising or a Cancer sun. Just take what applies, because the cards apply to the sun sign. The astrology is more for your rising, but it can apply as well, believe it or not. So you've experienced with Mars and Uranus in the 11th house a bit of tension, especially in terms of your friendships, especially in terms of groups. A lot of you could have been very disappointed by a friend or a community in the last couple months. Or that could have been something that since Uranus moved in there, you've been experiencing a lot of shocks and a lot of changes. But the thing about shocks is that oftentimes they don't come out of nowhere, they've been building. So when there is a shock, although it can feel surprising, if it's to do with your friendships and your groups, though it can feel surprising, it presents you with a moment of control, because nothing is happening below the surface anymore. You're aware of the undercurrents and you're aware of how you can fix them and move towards success, even if there's a little bit of friction to get there. Because what you're doing, Cancer, is you're moving towards better financial success for yourself, but better stability. You want to make more money for your children, for your children's children. You want to make more money for yourself. You want to feel more secure and you want to feel more stable. So where there's conflict in a work situation or a friend situation, just stay on your toes. With the Knight of Swords, you've a very sharp mind. You can make very clever decisions, but don't let your ego rule you. Strength here. Now, the ego is not a bad thing. It's what we've developed as humans that have to exist in the world, have to survive in the world, but sometimes it can grow far too much. And that means that you want to protect yourself in situations where there's not actually a threat. Sometimes there is, but in most cases, Cancer, the ego is designed to help you in the physical world when you're in danger. It's to alert you to something being off, to alert you to something being a danger. It's that fight or flight response sometimes. But oftentimes, as we've come to understand, as psychology develops, that the fight or flight response can be a result of PTSD, of emotional trauma. And so when something similar happens in a circumstance that really makes you feel like you want to run, you'll just run because you've not dealt with what's hurt you before, which again is not your fault. But sometimes it's good to understand where you're fighting or fleeing, because I can see both. Five of Wands, fight. Knight of Swords, flight. I do think for a lot of you it is a pattern in your friendships or your groups or surrounding a group of people that makes you feel very triggered. You might not like who you work with. Or you might at least not like more than one. For others of you, this is that you've had to be in an environment with a lot of people that you didn't want to be in. Maybe it was a hospital. Maybe it was a police cell. Maybe it was a courtroom. Whatever it is, you've had to be around people you didn't want to be around. And you're having to put up some kind of fight there for yourself. With the Ten of Pentacles and Strength, if you have a Leo on your side, they very much want to help you. You could be receiving gifts from a Leo person, be it emotional, be it practical, be it mental. There seems to be some kind of link towards the Leo in your life. I also feel for you Cancers that Gemini is also someone who's stepping up in terms of the support, or who's really giving you a clear indication of who they really are. And that can go either way. With the Lovers, the Devil, and the Page of Wands, if you keep doing the same thing in love and you're not reflecting on why certain things keep working out the way they are, it's just going to continue, and no amount of love predictions can change that. Sometimes whenever you find yourself in a toxic spiral, and this could be with friendships, the need is to look at it consciously for yourself, to bring it to your awareness, to say, I'm the common denominator here. Doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with me, but there's a pattern. There's something that keeps happening, and that's where you're finally ready to let that go. And it might be very challenging for you to look at the self, because the Strength card here is saying that with so much in the 8th house, the ego can be strong, which is why the character has to have an ego death to connect deeper to your soul rather than your personality. And when you're connecting to your soul, that's when you can fully merge with another person. And that's what you're going to do, by the looks of things. Merge with somebody else. Be fully embraced by somebody else. But first you need to look at the self. The Fool. For a lot of you, there's a significant Aquarius in your life, but this can also be that Aquarius season is asking you to do something you've not done before, Cancer. And maybe that's put yourself first. And maybe that's bringing you a lot of awareness that you needed. With the Fool and the Judgment, the old and the new combine to make something very special. There's a new beginning coupled with reflection of the old. There's a desire to start over, but not to cancel out the past. There's a desire to take a new route while reflecting, because you cannot fully step into a new future without making peace from the past. Now, if you hear from somebody in February, it's likely someone who really did take you for a fool. Someone who was very careless with your feelings. And if you hear from that person, you might be quite conflicted. With the Ten of Pentacles and the Strength card, rest and rejuvenation. You need to take a lot of time for yourself. You need to take a lot of moments to yourself to have these reflective moments, because there's a lot going to be coming at you. You also have the Happy Family card. There's a lot going to be coming at you, Cancer, that is important. We have a Libra full moon coming up in March. And at that point, there's a lot of energy coming into your family, into your home. And when that does come into your life, you need to have done a lot of reflection, a lot of understanding, and a lot of transformation. So be patient. There's big changes afoot, and they might seem troubling at first, or they might seem aggravating at first, or they might feel uncomfortable at first, but with the Ten of Pentacles and the Strength card, you're on to a good thing. Especially financially, if that's what you've needed to change. Perhaps you've spent far too much money in a relationship. Perhaps you have given far too much away. Perhaps you have sidestepped some wisdom that you needed for a long time. We have the Dance with Life card and the Imrama card. So you have a calling going on that you have to dance with. You have a calling, you have something that you know you need to do, or you need to acknowledge. You have these moments of insight into your own character that are quite revolutionary, that are quite exciting, that are quite important. And because you've spent so many years focused on the other with the stellium and Capricorn, and yeah, Pluto is still there. Because you've had so much energy focused on the other, it's time to focus on you and what's going on within you. It's time for a cleansing, detoxification of your body and mind. If you want intimacy with somebody else, or you want to deepen it, the truth is, Cancer, you need to look inward first. There's a few things that are changing, that are purifying, that are cleansing, and that are very, very important. And if that means saying goodbye to some people on the way, that's okay as well. With the Ten of Pentacles and the Strength card, you have everything you need. And if there are conflicts over money, you just need to be patient. And if you feel like you're not enough against the competition, your patience and your perseverance will be what helps you win. So So I will see you in the extended Cancer. We'll get into the air signs, the fire signs, the water signs, and all the different cards, and a little bit more of the astrology. Take care. Bye.